Hello, I'm Jenny Klochko, and today in Kiev I meet Victoriya Zvarych. She is a ballet dancer, blogger, and she works in Lviv Opera and Ballet House. Hello.
Hello.
How are you feeling today? How's your mood?
Despite the various news, there is still some positivity.
Is it tough to carry on?
It's tough.
Ukrainians say that Lviv, the city you are from, is considered to be safe. Would you agree?
I had a feeling that the end of the war was very close. It turned out it was not. We have to get deeper and deeper into this kind of positivity. The belief that sooner or later it will end even after every terrible news that has been and is always with us. Somehow you have to fight with yourself more and more in order not to lose yourself.
You have a fantastic, elegant, beautiful and inspiring job. You're a mother of a little girl, you're a wife. At the same time, you have to find the strength to get up, make breakfast, take little one to nursery and try not to worry that it won't be targeted by enemy's missile.
It helps me to carry on. My family, my daughter and my work help to be strong.
The ballet was in the headlines of the world's leading media at the beginning of war, in particular when famous choreographers and ballet dancers declared their position, support war or did not support it. Some left the projects and countries where they worked in. For example, Oleksiy Ratmansky, who worked at the Bolshoi Theatre in Russia. Also, the well-known case of Russian ballerina Olga Smirnova, who left Russia and now works in Europe. In her interviews, she says it was the most difficult time, as her family could not imagine that she could leave the theatre because it was the best place in the world to dance. Did you expect then from world legends they would express their support for Ukraine, but they didn't do it? Or, on the contrary, surprised you?
If you go back to the beginning of this full-scale invasion and remember this day, then everyone had such a terrible despair. At that time, it could end quickly and be affected by people or colleagues I follow on social media. I had colleagues from Russia, such as Maria Abashova, who I followed. And she followed a very similar path in Lviv. She studied with the same teachers as me. Somehow I looked up to her warmly for her career. On the first day of the war, I immediately thought I should write to her because she walked these streets, grew up in this school and danced in this theatre. After my message, I wrote, "Hello, Maria. Please express your opinion about the situation." I was just blocked. I realized that there was probably no one to talk to. As for Ratmansky and Smirnova, it is a common sense of just adequate people. Ballet in Russia is highly politicized, and most ballet dancers support the invasion of Ukraine. Those who wanted left at the beginning. Those who haven't done it probably won't do it anymore. They adhere to those positions. So, we, Ukrainian ballet dancers, do not expect support from Russian ballet dancers, but rather expect an adequate assessment of the actions of their authorities.
I am interested to hear your opinion on the case when Russian ballerina was arrested. Now she lives in America, but was arrested in Russia because she donated $51 to the Ukrainian army at the beginning of the war. It is about Ksenia Karelina. What's your take on this? Or it is more story for the headlines, media and journalists?
Well, I think that Russia will try in different ways, possibly to destroy people who somehow help Ukraine. And this is just one such case. I don't think there will be more.
Do you think there will be more names?
Yeah, I think so. Possibly to stop this support to intimidate.
What do you think about Mr. Polunin? He was born in Kherson and made very noticeable headlines in London. He's famous in London, also known for his love of tattoos. He has a very bright tattoo of Vladimir Putin, which he does not hide and shows during his performances. It's hard for me to judge as a Ukrainian, but what do you think?
I remember 8 years ago when the premiere of his dance clip was released. He very loudly, by the way, declared that he was Ukrainian. I remember the headlines of the articles, which spread the word that the Ukrainian dancer conquers all platforms. He also has a tattoo with Ukraine's coat of arms. And then, in one of his many interviews, I remember how he said that the stage of the London Opera is small for him. Then he also talked about his drug addiction in an interview. At some point, he chooses the stage of the Novosibirsk theatre. I don't know how it happened. Maybe someone knew something about him, more than we knew and knew. But after the London stage, he danced in Novosibirsk. There, he continued to confess his love for Putin. That's how he made several tattoos with his portrait. Later, if I'm not mistaken, he was appointed director of a choreographic college in the Crimea. Last year, he had a post on Instagram, which Ukrainian dancers actively began to repost. There is so much where he complained about what he gave in this country, Russia. And now they have dealt with him somehow ugly. I don't know what exactly it was about, but it was clear that probably the fame of London and the big stage that he exchanged for Novosibirsk and, well, that kind of thing, probably he was still aware of. Therefore, Putin's fans should note how everything can end.
Possibly the stage in Novosibirsk is bigger than in London to everyone who is uncomfortable. The war and the ballet, there are so many puzzles in it. When I read the girl who danced in Kiev Opera and Ballet Theatre left, she had become a sniper, and there was news that the ballet dancer from Odessa was killed. He was with armed forces and killed in a combat. A lot of people die every day. Unfortunately, we don't know how many exactly. Maybe for now it's a good thing. My question is, have you ever thought about joining the army yourself?
I think we should not forget that this is one of the most brutal wars since the end of the Second World War. And this is a war that no one expected, that we were not ready for and did not want. It is so large that people of various professions, including ballet dancers, take up weapons. Every defender of Ukraine is a hero, and I know this not only from media stories. Many Ukrainians tried this opportunity to help the army and fight. I also tried it on, but now I decided to protect the child and be close to her.
I'm interested in your opinion on how Russia has always used ballet politically. Tsarist time, there was on one story, and then in Soviet time, it was always such a symbol of Soviet power and hegemony. They always brought international delegations to the theatre and ballet. Even Stalin gave his speech in 1946 in the Bolshoi Theatre. Do you see the signs of this militarization, the signs of a monster of this power, even now, during the reign of Putin?
Ballet and culture are Russia's soft power. Russia communicates with the world with this soft power. The ballet is a kind of Trojan horse, and the Putin regime now continues to use ballet because ballet is very politicized, as I said before. And this can be seen, at least from performances and concerts held by ballet dancers in Russia, who collect money to support a special military operation, on the photos and posters they make of ballet dancers, together with the military and those dancers with weapons that they show on social networks. One example of how they make this way for themselves is one ballerina, the soloist of their Bolshoi theatre, who continues to tour abroad. She gives performances, participates in concerts, and at the same time, openly supports Putin's policy. She travels around the world, spreads Putin's ideology, and promotes it worldwide.
Do you think something should be done about it, or give it time? In the world history, there was experience of the Second World War. And indeed, there was cancellation of people who were on the wrong side of history. For example, it's not about ballet right now, but I remember the pictures of people who were evicted and thrown out of Czech Republic. They were Czechs, but those who took German passports. What do you think should be done with similar cases?
It seems that more effort should be spent on speaking and declaring oneself. So it's not like that, in culture, not to fight them, but to defend yourself. The more we are mentioned, the more the world will understand that we are us, that we are. That will be better. It is necessary to push away all this information space they have occupied.
So we have different battlefield, the media combat.
Yeah, it looks like.
I found you on Instagram. Your blog is very interesting, inspiring and beautiful. It's very aesthetic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you belong to the perfectionist. If you just look without reading or listening, it looks amazing. You emphasize on Ukrainian ballet, its separation, identity, and tradition. It looks like you are trying to reclaim Ukrainian ballet for Ukraine. Because when you say the ballet in the world is for everyone, without exception, it evokes association with the great culture and tradition in Russia.
When I started blogging, I learned to be interested in Ukraine and Ukrainian ballet, and I realized how much we didn't know, how much was hidden from us. The empire wanted there to be only one truth, one tradition. Ukraine has its dance traditions, which differ from Russian ones. Ukrainian dance tradition. It was built on the experience of European and Ukrainian culture. We have our history, and it is excellent, and it must be promoted. It must be protected. We have names such as Barbara Bitneruvna, Daria Nizhankivska, and Roma Prima. These are just tiny drops that have been found. These are ballerinas who studied in Lviv at the School of Classical Ballet and at the School of Modern Ballet, which was still in Lviv at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. It is also important to understand that ballet is not only about ballet dancers. Ballet is also about our composers, Kosna Tolsky, for example. It is also about scenographers and costumes too. Varvara Karinska turned out to be a revelation. That is, there are many names that we will still learn about, because now this is such a beginning.
Does it inspire you? Does it make you stronger? For you, is this place to take strength for life in time of war? Do you feel like an educator who, like Prometheus, brings the light? Because I was impressed the most by your factual information on the subject. That's why, when I was planning my trip to Ukraine, I wanted to talk to you. Secondly, it is so beautiful. I'm grateful to you. It's interesting. It is necessary. In Lviv, you show the city differently. It is so theatrical, homey, and sophisticated, and always elegant. I think during wartime we all have good and bad days, but you are so strong, informative, well written. Do you feel like Prometheus?
It inspires and distracts me. Thank you very much for such beautiful words. I am very distracted because my husband is on the front line all the time. I think about how he is and what is going on with him. I started this blog like this, somehow nervous or something, to relieve the tension. When I saw the audience's response, it turned around like that. Ballet excavations began, and I realized how much I did not know. That is, I am inspired by the information I find and the reaction I get. I am delighted that the Ukrainian audience is reacting this way. It is vital to know that we have our history. People are like that. Please send more videos about history. It is difficult because very little information has been preserved.
Maybe after your career in ballet, you will become ballet historian.
I don't know.
It would be a logical step, and people are interested.
Yeah, true.
You understand that entirely new Ukraine is being born. The nation is reborn.
Yes, yes. I read Ukraine's famous writer Zhadan's interview, in which he said that a serious revival of Ukrainian culture is currently underway. It resonated with what I'm trying to do.
In this case, it comes from the inner needs of different people in everyday life, who between shopping at the supermarket, feeding children, still want to learn more about themselves and where we are and who we are.
Moreover, we already had such an experience at the beginning of the 20th century. It is the Renaissance that was then, the culture that was born then. You can take an example from them and try to do it now.
It is challenging to be a wife of a serviceman and perform parts on the ballet stage. Ballet is about something elegant, something out of this world, about different emotions. But as a military wife, all you need is the text from your husband, confirming he returned from the combat assignment alive.
In the beginning, I couldn't dance at all. I did not dare to return to the theatre for the first 4 months, although work had already resumed. But it was difficult for me emotionally, mainly because, at that time, everything I knew about ballet was rooted in Russia. But later, it started to distract me when I started digging and learning about Ukrainian ballet. In general, as for the husband, at first I was even very angry with him, because he went on his own as a volunteer and didn't tell me. He said he was going there to patrol the region. It was the second day, and then he called back from Kyiv. It wasn't very respectful to me. I am very ashamed of it now, but I was so angry and thought, how am I, alone left with a child at home? How can you do that? I understand he needed my support, which I did not give him. That's why I'm now trying as much as possible, every day, to thank and support. I understand how difficult it is for every military person. It's also leaving a family, and they are true heroes.
How do you switch yourself to the ballet vibes? I understand that being professional and you had an extensive training, so it is not like you were shop assistant yesterday, but today you're ballerina. In the creative professions, the energy means a lot. For example, today you came to our interview, and before you prepared yourself for the camera and sat down in front of the microphone, there was already a feeling of the actress and her magic. Does it make sense? This energy, this glow, was already coming from you.
Now, it is probably these Ukrainian roots and information that are behind the power of all these traditions. I want to show the world there is Ukrainian ballet. It is different from Russian ballet. It somehow turns on and gives strength to dance and do it well.
For those who love ballet and are interested in our conversation, particularly in Britain, what would you recommend watching to understand Ukraine and its ballet better?
We have an outstanding production in Kiev, Forest Song, to the music of Skorulski. If there are Ukrainian productions in Lviv, it is the ballet Lily by Donkovich. And now in general, the ballet Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors premiere was released. We worked on it at the beginning of the season. The ballet was created during the war, and it is quite a successful work. It is not a shame to show it to the world. The scenography is gorgeous. Some solutions are new and modern. In my opinion, on the 7th, we will have a shooting this week to show the play online in all countries of the world.
What message would you like Britain to hear from Ukraine, particularly from you? In our case, we show that this is what is happening in the world of ballet during the war.
I want to thank Britain for its support and inspiration, because almost all the videos I make to introduce the audience to ballet are from the Royal Ballet of England. It is one of the strongest ballets right now. Their work inspires me, and their approach to the repertoire is just exciting. I dream that our ballet will become at least one drop closer to such a culture. And I would like you to share this experience with us. Somehow, I don't know, some cooperation so that ballet masters would come. It would be exciting and essential for Ukrainian ballet.
Do you have favorite names of dancers or choreographers?
I like Marianela Nunez. I like Kanyukova. She is ours from Ukraine and supports us a lot. And she also writes to me often. It makes me so happy. I am like this. Prima of the Royal Opera House wrote to me. Here are the productions. I like their Giselle. It is a modern production. I also showed it to my audience, and everyone was delighted. That's why I dream of going to such performances live.
You know, I was at the performance, and the choreography, the atmosphere of the Royal Opera were incredible. The experience was fantastic. It was like a fairy tale. Everything there was unbelievable, but the costumes were my most significant discovery and surprise. During the break, when I walked along the corridors of the opera house, and there were the costumes on the display, they were work of art. I was impressed. The costumes impressed me the most.
They have chic. I admire Alice in Wonderland. It's just, I don't know, this Cheshire cat that divides itself into parts. Well, you can envy them, and if you compare it, although there's nothing to compare it with Russian ballet and English ballet, well, there's a gap of 100 years between them, in fact, well, in general. by scenography, by choreography, by music, by costumes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Today I talked to Victoriya Zvarych. She's a ballet dancer and a blogger from Lviv Opera and Ballet House. All the links to her blogs and the performances were mentioned. I'll list below. And please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, ask your question, share experiences. I'm looking forward to read it. Thank you for watching.